Good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'm delighted to have folks join us both from here within the Casa Piu and as well as on Zoom for the third session on the pandemic in comparative perspective. We will begin with Kiran Bir Sethi on Zoom on a session on the pandemic in Asia, regional perspectives. Thank you very much, Kiran.
Thank you so much for having me. I really wish I was there. I'm going to just do the screen share so that I could start. Yes. So, namaste, buongiorno, and good morning to all of you. You certainly know there's something very wrong with the world when we start a greeting by saying, I hope you're all staying positively negative. Thank you, dearest Marcelo and the members of the Pontifical Academy of thinking of me for this event. And thank you for your time and intent for all our children. By now, of course, we are aware that over 1 billion children have suffered the impact of school shutdowns. And we also know this is going to have a long-lasting effect on the learning and well-being of our children. We know from previous crises that the longer they stay out of school, the less likely they are to return. We've already heard from the eminent speakers about the global scale of the impact. I would like to share some light on how the pandemic has affected and impacted children and learning in India. You see, India holds a lot of records and a lot of achievements. We are the largest democracy, one of the fastest growing economies. We produce the highest number of movies every year, and we gave yoga to the world. COVID, unfortunately, has added one more rather dubious distinction to this list. We now hold the record for having the longest pandemic-induced school closure. So let me share the impact of this decision in terms of data. Over 320 million children, which is about the population of the United States of America, have not stepped into a classroom for over a year and a half. From these 320 million, over 40% of children, that is 128 million children, received actually their only meal of the day at school, which meant that besides the loss of learning, basic nutrition was also locked down. The sudden and immediate impact saw an exodus of over 10 million migrants back to their hometowns. Some, like 15-year-old Jyoti Kumari, had to cycle over 1,200 kilometers from Gurgaon back to home, carrying her ailing father in the cycle. Whilst we still don't know how many of the migrant children might return to any form of schooling, we do know that 30% more children, girls specifically, are entering into early marriages. This, of course, brings another set of issues such as teenage pregnancies and malnutrition. 90% of children lost at least one specific language ability, which experts say will take around 9 years to overcome. So for all this talk of going digital, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed how rooted structural imbalances are between rural and urban, male and female, rich and poor, specifically in the digital world and specifically in India. From inequity in electricity and internet connections to devices like computer or smartphones, the data revealed of the 117 million children in rural India, only 8%, that is 9 million children, had access to any form of online education. Nationwide, only 11% of our 1.5 million schools in India were equipped with internet facilities to offer continued education, online education. And finally, the government schools data showed that pre-pandemic, 55% of children under 10 were not able to read and comprehend a simple text. And now, post-pandemic, this number has gone up to a whopping 45%. How did India respond? Literally overnight, we witnessed unprecedented design innovations. Tech startups found the pandemic an opportunity to help bridge some of these gaping inequity. From skills to vocational and technical courses, we saw myriad solutions emerge. The government set up a team to digitize over 4,000 textbooks, adding QR codes and tagged them with approximately 200,000 pieces of e-content, which included 6,000 documents, 1,500 interactives, et cetera, et cetera. This was set up for school and college courses. The states harnessed the reach of local television, 34 educational channels were broadcasting content, and radio stations to continue to deliver lessons. A helpline called Yukti was also set up for stress and anxiety. But in record time, while we cracked the formula of the vaccine so the world could get back to a life as we know it, the truth is there is no getting back to anywhere. Imagine the world our children were witnessing. For the first time, they were being told that to love somebody is to stay away from them. Be afraid, we were telling them. Be very afraid of hugs, of smiles, of you and of me. They say time heals all wounds. So while our children might recover physically, what vaccine will heal the damage this virus has caused to the hearts and minds of our children? How will they build their immunity to the viruses of fear, loneliness, and anxiety? What will it take to bring courage back? So COVID made one thing eminently clear. No more will schools be seen as institutions for passing tests and time, but as those last standing bastions of hope where children will learn about equity, justice, joy, and purpose. A recent survey conducted with over 600 students showed what they really wanted most from schools. The results are not surprising, but if only we were to listen to them. 90% children said that the school was for making long-lasting friendships. 84% said that schools offered emotional support and how to deal with anxiety. 73% said that schools helped get feedback for growth. And 65% said that they found their talents at school. So what will it take to turn this COVID crisis into a re-COVID crisis opportunity? At Riverside School, really, we have been waiting for this for the last 20 years. Ironical as it may sound, I was super grateful for 2020. Never before had the world awakened to the power of empathy and emotional well-being as a super fuel for education. Yes, while technology and learning apps have certainly given us the confidence that we can learn about things by ourselves, it also highlighted that we can only learn about ourselves with each other. So when we started the school in 2001, we had just one simple goal: to graduate young citizens who are aware of the world, enabled with skills, and empowered to design a more desirable and humane world. We call this the I Can mindset. How are we doing this? Well, we use principles of design thinking to create a simple 4-step framework of putting empathy into empowerment. We called it FIDS for Kids: feel, imagine, do, and share. Feel, always start with the heart. We invite children to observe and identify what bothers them in their immediate environment and what they wish to see changed. Imagine, then children collaborate with friends and teachers and brainstorm about what change looks like. Do, we ask them to implement the act of change. And then finally, share. My favorite part, asking children to shamelessly share their story so others can also be inspired to say, I can. The result of this, and the reason I want to share this, is that every time a child experienced being the change, they were forever changed. So just to illustrate the power of FIDS, I would like to show you one glimpse of FIDS in action. This is a story of my youngest children who designed a solution for the school handyman as a way to make his job less stressful. The biggest lesson they were teaching us is that age had nothing to do with competency.
There are 4 simple steps: feel, imagine, do, and share. Just start by first feeling. What are you trying to solve?
The problem was that Sunil Bhai, he likes to do a lot of work, but then he had to run back and forth. Sunil Bhai had to go everywhere.
Then we said, what do we do after we understand? We imagine a preferred scenario. There is the imagine.
We hear each other's ideas so that we can come up with better solutions. First of all, like Earth had got the idea that we can make a belt. We were making a jacket. We talked, we will make lots of pockets.
And then you go out and do the action.
We illustrated first how the belt will look. First, cut the sleeves. We stitched, then we cut. Then we sticked only on 3 sides, and so it became a pocket.
and then you share it. I think one of the key things that we've learned is we were not sharing. We were just not sharing enough in education.
We talked about with him that why we made this for him, how it will be useful for him. We were telling that he cannot waste his time and his energy. He was feeling happy because now he didn't have to run all over the place to find like keys. He just had to take it out from his pocket and give it to the person who wants the key.
To have our children have creative confidence is probably the greatest gift you can give them. Well, they are the two most powerful words in the English language. I can.
So COVID is not the only crisis the world is currently witnessing, but it has highlighted that uncertainty is the only certain we can be certain about. And our children need tools to not only navigate, but shape this uncertain world. So Riverside is offering the FIDS formula as a vaccine. Our children need to build the antibodies of empathy, courage, passion as they unleash their agency for the greater good. So before I bid you farewell, allow me to share my insights to this moment in history. We are here today, while so many of our loved ones are not. Our rooms may be quieter and our hearts heavier. Never before have the words today and now played such a significance in the choices we make. So, and our children are watching us, will we choose to turn this crisis into an opportunity or continue to advocate for a system we know is broken, that only values children being markable and not remarkable? Why is this I Can message so important for our children, especially in times of such crisis? Well, it encourages them to believe that the tiny corner of the world and the planet they inhabit can be made more beautiful, more just, and more equal. More importantly, it teaches them that they do not have to be mere spectators of change. They can be the initiators, the participants, and the overseers of it today. So, what are we waiting for?
Ministers of education today are so consumed with science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and having higher test scores that they forget that at the end of the day, if we don't have people of good character, people who do the right thing, intellect in itself will destroy the world. It will not save it. The world has a lot to learn from what's happening here at Riverside School.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kiran, for giving us starting us off with a perspective that is focused a little less on the Western world and giving us an inspirational model where we can begin to think about the opportunities out of this sobering moment. That is really using a social emotional learning vaccine, if you will. And I think that what are the teachable moments out of this time? So thank you very much for that.